A max-funded IUL is far superior to a 529 college savings plan if you want flexibility and greater rates of return. In this educational episode, I'm going to address a frequently asked question. What is better than a 529 college savings plan if I'm stocking away money for my kids or grandkids' college tuition or whatever, the expenses when they decide to go to college? Get ready, and I'll show you why I would never use a 529 plan. They're not flexible enough. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been helping people for nearly 5 decades optimize assets and minimize taxes and prepare for long-term goals such as retirement planning, college savings for children and grandchildren, working capital for business owners, real estate investors, pension maximization for school teachers, police officers, and firefighters, and so forth. Let's just focus on those of you who are interested in stocking away money for your children or grandchildren, and what is the best way to do that. So people say, well, what's better than a 529 college savings plan? Oh, they may be good, but they're a far cry from the best way to do that. Let me just simplify this. When you set up a 529 savings plan, there's a limit to how much you can put into those, okay? With a max-funded indexed universal life insurance contract, there is no limit. I mean, I can design one to accommodate $10,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $500,000 a year, okay? You can't do that in a 529 college savings plan. The money grows tax advantaged in the 529 plan. That's why people use it. 529 is a section of the Internal Revenue Code that allows for the tax advantages. What are the disadvantages of a 529? Well, let's just suppose that your child or grandchild turns 18, whatever, and goes to college. And they are thrilled that they have the money, but let's say they're a good student and they get scholarships. I received several different scholarships in college and what have you. And I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken 30 hours a week. I had better study habits than most of my friends whose parents were just shelling it out. That's another topic here. But let's say that they don't need any of the money or most of the money in the 529 plan. So they decide to use it for a down payment on their first home purchase or to start a business. Now the IRS says, no, you didn't use it for college. It's now taxable. Golly, that's unfair. If you use a max-funded indexed universal life insurance contract, you're probably going to earn a rate of return greater than most 529 plans. IUL, when it's structured correctly and funded properly, I have earned average rates of return of 11.17 since 1997. Since 1980, I have earned an average of 9.62. My money doubles about every 7 to 8 years. I've not seen very many 529 plans that will give you rates of return between 9.6 and 11%. But see, my IUL is tax-free regardless of how I use the money. I don't have to tell the IRS what I'm using it for. It's totally tax-free. So why would I mess around with strings attached in a 529 where they only let me put in a certain amount of money? I want to put in money, not put in money, take it in, pull it out, and not even have to qualify or report it to the IRS that it went for college. If I'm saving and I need to access it, or maybe my son or daughter or a grandson or granddaughter needed some money for something else to start a business because they got an entrepreneurial scholarship in high school, you can use it for this. You don't get tax-free access for a 529 plan unless you use it for college. Okay, there's too many boxes you have to check. I don't like that. It's too rigid. So with an IUL, I earn a higher rate of return. It's more liquid. I can access it. And if I end up not needing the money for college, doesn't matter. It's still tax-free when I take out the money for starting a business or a down payment on a home or whatever, and it always stays tax-free and it earns a higher rate of return. So why would I mess around with a 529 plan is what I'm saying. But here's one other advantage. With a Max-Funded Index Universal Life Insurance contract, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to gift you a copy of this book here in a moment so that you can learn how to structure it correctly. See, what you're doing is you're putting it into an insurance contract, but the purpose is to earn the best internal rate of return as possible by taking the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with. And so a certain amount of death benefit has to be attached or come along for the ride, I call it. And so you're trying to have your money grow tax-free for whatever, college funding or other goals, but you still have to have a small amount of insurance based upon what you're going to sock away. So let's say you're a 60-year-old grandparent and you want to really help out your grandkids. If you're like me, I have 20 grandchildren. And so you want to allocate $500,000 for their college funding. So what your goal is to have your $500,000 be there and even double to $1 million so that $1 million can generate $100,000 a year in tax-free college funds for your kids into perpetuity. I have many clients that started out, they put in $500,000 or even $125,000 and it doubled to $250,000 and then to $500,000 and then to $1 million. But I have many clients that have $1 million college funds in what I call their family bank, and they can access $100,000 a year tax-free to give scholarships, so to speak, to their grandchildren, but it's totally tax-free without depleting the $1 million. Well, how did they do that? When they put in, let's say, $500,000, they took the least amount of insurance, which was $1 million. And then that $500,000 was allowed to be able to double to $1 million within, 7 to 12 years. And so now the insurance, there's no more charges for the insurance because your cash value now equals and begins to exceed the death benefit. This is by doing it right. You're self-insured because you did it for living death benefit, okay? But let's say while you're funding it, when you're putting in $500,000, if you want to have tax-free access, you can't put in all $500,000 at once. Most people, if they're putting money aside for college funding for their kids or grandkids, you're funding it over time. And so you could put in $100,000 a year, let's say, if you're a grandparent. And so you put in $100,000 a year while you're filling that up so that you have this $1 million college fund. Well, what if something happens to you and you die? I mean, life's uncertain, and a lot of times people have untimely deaths. It could be accidental. You could be diagnosed with cancer. So let's say that your goal was to have $1 million college fund for your 20 grandkids, and you were only $100,000 into a 529 plan, and frankly, you wouldn't be allowed to put in probably that much unless you set up 529 plans for all the kids individually to try to get through those hoops. But you die, and you've only got $100,000 in there. What do you leave behind in those 529 plans? $100,000. If I die and I'm only $100,000 into my IUL policies and I happen to die, that $100,000 blossoms to $1 million within 3 weeks after I die. And now all of that college funding was funded in one fell swoop with an insurance contract. You show me a 529 plan that does that. Now people will say, well, how much does that cost? Well, nothing's free, but it doesn't cost me anything. It's coming along for the ride when I set up my IUL correctly because a minuscule portion of the interest I'm earning is paying for the life insurance that has to be there in order for it to be tax-free. If you want to learn how, you need to read the book I'm going to gift you in a second here. But hello, why would you ever mess around with a 529 plan that has all the strings attached? Only a certain amount you can put in. You have to use it for college. Why do you want those restrictions? I want something more flexible. I have a beatitude that actually says, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. Okay? I don't want you to be bent out of shape. So use an IUL policy. It'll knock the socks off of a 529 plan. And if you happen to pass away, It's funded instantly. 529 plans, you only leave behind what you had accumulated up to the point of your death. Are you getting it? Well, if you want to learn more, there's some stories in here. So I want to gift you a copy of this book. You could purchase it. It's my 11th book. It's been flying off of our warehouse shelves. It talks about how to properly structure and maximum fund an IUL. If you do it correctly, it's deemed a laser fund. Laser is an acronym that stands for liquid assets, safely earning returns. Laser fund is like a financial Swiss Army knife. It has all kinds of uses: retirement planning, college savings, tax-free, emergency funds, working capital for business, real estate management, pension maximization if you're a school teacher, and on and on and on. Well, we're talking about college funding. So you can use this, and if you're a left-brain learner, you ought to read this one. And this book right here is about 200 pages, 14 chapters, and it has all the charts and graphs and explanations. But if you learn more by stories, you're a bright-brain learner, you flip it over and read this book. See, this is 2 books in one. This is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories, 4 or 5 of which talk directly about how to use this for college funding, okay? If you want to use your whole brain, you can read both of these books. But if you go to Amazon, you can purchase one there. Thank you. But I'll gift you one free. So to claim your free copy, you simply go to laserfund.com or click on the link below. And when you go in there to claim your free copy, you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require a little bit of skin in the game. Come on. But I'll pay for the book. And I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail the next day. But while you're in there claiming your free copy, check out the audio and video formats, because you may want to listen and learn, or watch and learn like I do. If you want to learn from an educational webinar, they're free. You can register. We teach them on a weekly basis. You can even schedule an appointment online to talk to an IUL specialist that I oversee, that I have trained and mentored, to show you with no cost or obligation how a properly structured IUL can be designed to perform superiorly to a 529 college savings plan, okay? And I would recommend you have it done correctly and funded properly. Otherwise, you're going to make some mistakes. That's why I have a coalition of over 1,000 IUL agents that belong to this coalition. They're called IUL Insiders. And I would recommend that you talk to one of them so that you don't make the mistake of setting one up and then it only earns 7 and only nets you 3 because they didn't know what they were doing. You want to have one that knows how to diversify and rebalance so that you can earn 11 and net 10. There's a huge difference if this is your serious cash, and I don't want you to jeopardize that serious cash.